Hi everyone, welcome. This is Rich Wildman, and I've got Ian Husbands here with me today. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about making videos, right, Ian?
We certainly are, Richard.
So the idea behind this, and I think we need to tell everybody up front exactly what it is we're up to. The idea behind this is we were talking about the possibility of bringing video into the MSI arena, where we would get together, what is it, once a month, once a quarter?
Well, we haven't really decided yet. No final points. I think we're going to start off doing it as a competition, won't
Yeah,
we?
exactly. We're going to take and basically do the same thing as we do with audio on MSI with video. So what we want to do today is talk to you about making videos, because we know that not everybody has Final Cut Pro or Avid or access to actors and things like that in order to make their music videos. So we wanted to talk about how you can do it on your own, how it doesn't have to cost an arm and a leg. So, Ian, let's talk a little bit about making your own video. And I want to talk about a little bit about some of the videos that you've done. In fact, I want to take the opportunity today to show some of the videos that you've done over the years. And let's start with talking about the videos you've made, and let's move into things like where they can be showcased and stuff like that as well.
Yeah, I mean, video is kind of something I see these days as a bit of a necessity. You know, a lot of people are finding new music on sites like YouTube and Vimeo. So, you know, I'm not a believer in just sticking up a photograph with your audio behind it and using it as some sort of streaming MP3 player, to be honest. YouTube is there for videos, as is Vimeo. And I think, you know, with a little bit of effort, you don't need a large budget to put together a video. And that's kind of how I started, really. It was looking for ways to put songs on YouTube without it just being a photograph.
Now, when you say you don't need a budget, people are going to assume that they're going to need some kind of software in order to do this. I mean, because obviously video is something that's going to need to be edited and need to be manipulated at least to some degree in order to make it coherent. I mean, you just can't plop and so forth with video cuts. I mean, you're going to at least need a camera, right?
Well, yes and no, Rich. I mean, we live in a day and age where technology is everywhere and everyone's got a smartphone. And these days on your smartphone is generally a camera and generally a video camera. And for a lot of places, an app which will let you edit video on your phone and upload it straight to YouTube from there. And this is something I've explored with the iPad, with my iPhone, and also with my other digital cameras, little compacts and my bridge camera that I use just for taking photography. They've all got video function on them. So, you know, if you're shooting a video for YouTube, you know, you're talking a video of 640 by 480 pixels. It doesn't have to be TV quality for YouTube. Obviously, as long as you understand that that's what you're doing, you know, any sort of digital camera or anything that's got video on it will work.
So you're saying you on a lot of these phones, then you can just upload directly to YouTube and even edit on your phone.
Yeah, I mean, I use an iPhone personally, and obviously, I was very excited to hear that Apple were releasing a version of iMovie when that came out on for your iPhone. Yeah, and it's basic. It lets you do basic editing and run it down into, you know, with some basic transitions like fades or cross dissolves and things like that. But there are also a host of other apps out there, third-party apps, which allow you to apply effects like black and whites or soft blurs, you know, a whole manner of things, which you can put on the video and sort of go between app using the camera roll to make your video. It is that simple. You can also use your phone. I mean, my iPhone shoots in 720 pixel HD, which is great for a phone anyway, and certainly suitable for YouTube. And you can download that video from there or from my cameras onto my Mac. And you know, if you're a Mac user, you'll know that you get iLife for free with your Mac, and that contains a copy of iMovie as well. So you've got your editing facilities. GarageBand as well. GarageBand allows you to put music and effects onto video. So you can take your video into GarageBand and layer up effects from the library sounds or something in there. So, if you've got the technology sitting there anyway, it's very easy to do.
And these things aren't going to break the bank either. As you said,
No.
iLife is free with when you buy a new Mac, and on the iPad or the iPhone, it's not very expensive, right?
It's not at all. And there's a lot of free apps out there as well. It's not just Apple's iMovie on the iPhone. There's lots of them. Video Ninja is one. I mean, we talked a lot about them when we done the Indie Inquest shows. There's just a whole host of technology waiting out there for you to freely download and use.
All right. So now that we know it's not expensive and that people can do it even wholly contained on their mobile devices, whether it's an iPhone, an Android phone, a tablet, or whatever the case is, let's talk about some of the different types of videos that you've done and how they might be used in music videos, or the kinds of things we're talking about here, music videos specifically. We've got a different list. In fact, you sent me a list of the different types of videos you've produced over the years.
Yep.
We've got collaborative videos, recording your own video, of course, public domain, using public domain footage, using royalty-free or other free loops and or video backgrounds, stop frame animation videos, which is really kind of a cool idea, and lyric videos. So let's go into each one of these categories and talk about them a little bit and take a look at an example of them as well. Let's start with collaboration videos. Now, I want to show an example of this from you, and then we'll talk about it, all right?
Okay.
All right, let's take a look at this. This is a collaboration example.
Rested well, and now is a fresh new day.
All right, so tell me a little bit about this video that we just saw. What makes it a collaborative video?
Well, this was actually a guy called Terry Tachuk, who lives down in Bridport, but actually used to be up around this way in West London, where I am. And he's a documentary maker, and he makes documentaries for his hometown of Bridport. And we basically answered a little advert he'd put on an online website saying, "Need music for my documentary, can you help?" sort of thing. No money, but all credits available. So we offered to write him a track, and we didn't have anything we felt was suitable. So myself and my wife Tony decided we'd write him a track. It would be a folk influenced track, sort of that sort of sea shanty type thing. And that's what we came up with. But, as well as directors asking musicians for music, it can work the other way around. YouTube has got a whole host of very talented video makers on there. Don't be afraid to approach these people and say, "I've got this song and I'd like a video for it. Can you help?" Look at your local colleges and universities. Are there film students there who need the experience and would gladly jump on board and do a project with you?
All right, well, that makes sense, and it doesn't hurt to work with other people, get maybe even a new set of eyes on your idea as well, right?
Set of eyes and ideas as well. I mean, music as a whole can be interpreted many different ways, and you might find that the idea that you've got visually in your head is not the same visual idea it gives someone else who does video, and they might put together something totally that you'd never thought of, which works really well.
Now, let's talk about when you do collaborative videos, you do want to make sure that you have the permission of the other parties involved before you start using their video, right? I mean...
Oh, for certain. I mean, one of the things that we agreed with Terry before this was done was that once his video was in place and he'd edited it to our music the way he felt it could be, that we could then take that and use that on YouTube. it was a mutual thing. We were supplying him the music, he was supplying us a video, and before we know it, we had something that was, quite professionally filmed as well.
Absolutely. I agree with that. Just from that small clip we saw, I think we can all agree with that. Let's talk about recording your own video and take a look at a second example here. This is a video called Just Don't Understand. And specifically what I want to talk about here is how you choose locations, costumes, and decide, in fact, how you even do some of the video effects that we're going to see. So let's take a look at this example as well.
My ego's big, my guitar's a bit small. I can't read music and I break all the rules. Record company won't answer my calls, oh why? I got the lyrics, tra la 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 la. I got the moves, do I did it da da da. I got the melodies, you think I would go far, just don't understand.
All right, now the first thing I want to talk about in regards to this video is the effects, because you're sitting on the couch with yourself. How did you do that? Just so everybody knows the magic behind it.
Well, I mean, I recorded this video with several different cameras, my compact, my iPhone, my webcam on my Mac, and the two of me, doubling me up, was quite easy. It's just a simple split screen and then overlay. I mean, it's not something you can do in iMovie. You need something that deals with video in layer. I use Final Cut Express for this. And all you simply do is record the two takes of you in the different positions playing along to the track, and then you sync them up to the music separately, so you've got two videos, and then in Final Cut you put one on top of the other, and then just basically edit half of one video so you can see the other video underneath.
Okay, that makes sense.
It really is as simple as that. It's very effective, but just using a bit of overlay and cropping, you can create some good effects.
That makes sense. Now, talk to me about locations for, how do you go about choosing locations? And should you, now, I guess maybe this isn't a question I should ask during this particular video, but maybe another video down the road. But you'll tell me if I'm wrong to ask it here. Should a person choose locations based upon the content of the song? I mean, should you take and do the song literally line by line, lyric by lyric?
Again, I don't necessarily think that's always the right way to go. I mean, sometimes a good idea is a good idea, and that doesn't mean it has to follow exactly what the music's saying. You're not trying to necessarily narrate a story in pictures. You're trying to give someone a visual image to go along with that song. So as long as it has some relation, it will work. I mean, with this video, obviously, we just moved into a new house. I had a set of stairs which were undecorated, uncarpeted, and that looked kind of cool. It gave it a grungy look. And obviously, for two people, I wanted a nice long seat for us to both sit on, so I used my sofa, quite simple as that. And most of the shots are done in my living room. Just, changing my clothes for different shots. Changing angles of the shot, so in some shots you can see the studio setup I've got here. In some shots you just see the sofa.
Now, costuming. You mentioned changing costumes and stuff like that. So costuming, does it have to be expensive? Does it have to be extravagant? Do you have to go out to a costume shop and grab these things?
It really depends what you're doing. I mean, Just Don't Understand. I mean, it was really a song about how a lot of artists out there think they should be rock stars and aren't, and they can't see why they aren't, when most people can, because they're rubbish. And from that point of view, cowboy hats and dark glasses and things like that, you can get a pretty simple effect on to give that idea that these people sort of think they're rock stars or whatever. But if you're obviously doing a superhero video, for example, then yeah, you're going to need to sort of come across with some sort of costume if that's what you're trying to illustrate. Use superheroes, obviously, the Superman t-shirt, it's all good. But so it really does depend on the concept for the video, but it doesn't have to be expensive. If you're just trying to make a video, try and stay away from things that are going to work out expensive. You've got to work within your means. So you're not necessarily trying to make the next blockbuster. You're trying to make an effective video to get you up on YouTube and represent you well enough.
All right. Now, what about lip syncing? Because in most videos, you're not going to be doing a live take when you're actually up on stage playing the song, perhaps maybe out at a concert when you see concert footage. But when you're doing a video like what we just saw, there's going to be lip syncing involved, right?
Yeah, I mean, the simple way I deal with that is I will sing along to the track as the video is being recorded. So, you know, from my point of view, I know the track well enough to have recorded it, so I can pretty much get my phrasing bang on to what's done. And if you then record the music with the video, when you're pulling it back into your timeline and editing out that silence at the start or whatever you need to take out, it's quite easy to visually and using your ears sync those tracks up. Then you basically just delete the audio from the new video take that you've done and replace it with the recorded audio that you want to use. I always try and do however many takes it needs on a video to get the different angles, the different shots. And I will always try and do the whole song in that position or that scene. That way you can always start to lip sync from the start of the track, and when you're editing, everything should be in place when you're layering up on top of each other.
That's a nice tip right there. I mean, if you got the whole song, got the video of every angle throughout the whole thing, it does make editing a lot easier.
It makes it, and it also gives you a lot more options. You know,
it makes sense, yeah.
You may have an idea of, okay, for this scene, I want me to be dressed in a weird shirt with a guitar on my head. But you might find that weird shirt and guitar on your head works better in the intro. So if you record that, when you come to editing, you've got so many more options and things you can do.
Got a lot more footage you could use that you may not have had otherwise.
That's right.
All right, makes perfect sense. Now, let's go to the third type, which is the utilization of public domain footage. This is a video that you put together not too long ago for Mr. Paul Miro, if I'm not mistaken. So let's take a look at it, and then we'll come back and talk about it.
You'd rather see me in the pen than me and Lorenzo rolling in a benzo. Beat the police out of shape, and when I'm finished, you bring the yellow tape to tape off the scene of the slaughter. I still can't swallow bread and water. I don't know if they fags are what. Search a nigga down and grabbing his nuts, and on the other hand, without a gun he can't get no. Don't care if it's a black or a white one.
Okay, now let's talk about this one, because this is an interesting video in that it does utilize a lot of public footage video. So tell me a little bit about how that came together and where you picked up the public domain video and what the issues are with using it, or what they might be.
You didn't introduce the song,
No,
Rich?
I did not. I figured I'd let you do that.
Well, this is a very old, very well-known hip-hop track originally, called F the Police by NWA. And Paul wanted to do a laid-back acoustic version of this that he's done in gigs several times, and he wanted to record it, get it down nicely, and do a video as like a YouTube exclusive. And we went backwards and forwards on ideas for this. We talked about getting news footage and police brutality and stuff like that, and using that. But we thought, with the current climate and the way things were going, it was all around the Chris Dormer time when the guy in LA was being hunted by the police.
Right.
So we decided to tread carefully, and I came up with this idea of using public domain footage of silent movies, because in them days, slapping the police around and pushing them over was quite acceptable in film, and it was deemed as very funny in film. So, the idea really sprang from there, and, Google is your friend. There are so many sites out there which give you options. I mean, the main one I used, and it is a really fantastic site, is archive.org. And archive.org have got moving picture, images, audio. If it can be in the public domain digitally, then archive.org have probably got it. And they're a brilliant resource for this sort of stuff. Now, Archive.org used to work on the Creative Commons copyright situation, but I know a lot of that's changed. So they don't really tend to support public domain so much as well now. But it really is a case of researching and understanding the laws, not just of the territory that you're in, but of the territories that also could view this on YouTube. I always take America into consideration of their laws when I'm doing this sort of thing, because your laws over there are so much different to ours in Britain.
And we appreciate that, by the way. Just want to let you know.
Well, it's not that you should appreciate it. I just don't want to get deported on some weird copyright.
You're not even over here. We can't deport you unless you're here.
I meant deported from England to you.
Oh, I understand. I understand. All right. So when you're working with public domain footage, I guess the rule of thumb here is to do your research.
Yeah, do your homework. It is very important. Because you don't want to get yourself in legal problems over a YouTube video. I mean, the worst that can happen is you could actually get fined and maybe put in jail if you really wanted to fight the battles. Yeah. But the least that's going to happen is they're going to ask you to take your movie down from YouTube, or they're going to refuse you monetization. Now, at the end of the day, if you're putting videos on YouTube as an act and you want to try and make a bit of money out of your music, then you really want to be able to try and monetize your videos.
And that brings us to the next topic of free and royalty-free motion loops and video backgrounds. So let's take a look at this. This is something that you and I are all familiar with. Maybe not our viewers. However, we use this quite a lot. So let's take a look at this video.
MSI and Live to Play Network present Hitlist in association with Butterflies Radio and Indie Music Bus. One band, one prize. Every month. Hitlist, Band of the Month. Submit music now at musicsceneinvestigation.com.
All right, so there is something near and dear to our heart, right?
The dulcet tones of Ken Scott.
Exactly, thatvoiceguy.com. He's a great voiceover artist. Now, let's talk about this, because this is something that you put together with motion loops, video backgrounds. Where did you get these? And talk to me a little bit about how this was done.
Well, I mean, MSI has been good for me from a video point of view. It's allowed me to sort of dip my toes into different forms of editing and video production. Because obviously, when you're making a music video, you've kind of got a concept to work with. With MSI, it's kind of a bit open. We've kind of got a color palette to work with. We've kind of got a general idea of that sort of police scientific thing going on behind it, at the back of it. But, there's a lot of specifics we have to sort of hit and get the videos working. So they're nice to watch and easy to watch. The Hitlist was a new thing for us. It was, and I wanted to do a video promo for YouTube, so everyone knew what was going on. And I didn't want to go down the route of guns and rifles, and again, what with the things in America or the way they are.
So you used a bomb.
But I used the comedy bomb, the comic bomb. The old round, like you see in the video, the round bomb with the long fuse.
People today are getting put in jail for pressure cookers. So, a comic bomb would still get you in jail over here.
My cooking would probably kill you more than a bomb would.
All right, so you picked up, you find a lot of these videos and video backgrounds available at different sites on the net.
Again, yeah, I mean, go to Google. I think I use Shutterstock for these. They're a website that, again, do royalty-free imagery, video. And again, make sure you read your licenses when you buy these things. And they can sort of go from $2 through to $20 through to $50, depending on what you want.
And you can get them in various resolutions as well, I'm assuming.
You can go from small to sort of HD. And again, you pay for the quality that you buy.
All right.
So, once you've bought them, the license will generally allow you to use them for your projects, as long as you're not reselling them on as independent loops, motion loops or backgrounds. They have to be a part of a project that is then being used.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Now, I think we probably have the last two categories we're going to talk about are probably the most complicated and time-consuming of the ones we've talked about so far.
Yeah, definitely.
So let's talk about the first of the two after we watch an example of it. This is stop frame animation. Now, everybody's seen stop frame animation, usually Saturday mornings. If you grew up watching cartoons, as most of us have, you've seen a little bit what we're talking about when we talk about stop frame animation. That's a lot harder to say than what it seems like, though. I'm just saying. All right, so let's take a look at an example of this. This is, again, from a Paul Muro video called Borderline Clone. All right, now that we've seen that, I want to talk to you about how that was put together because I know it's a time-consuming process. So talk to me a little bit about how you put it together and what software you use, the camera techniques, and things like that.
I mean, this for me was an early foray into stop frame animation, and it was really started as a joke between myself and Paul over a video that we discussed for the song that basically was impractical to do in normal situations with no budget. And I dipped my toe into stop frame animation years ago trying to do a little South Park animation using free characters from the internet. And getting the lip syncing on that was really, really difficult. And then it wasn't until my son got into Lego and I showed him some of the Lego stop frames on YouTube that he said to me, "Daddy, how do they do that?" So I kind of explained, and then he wanted to make one. So we made one, and that was kind of my second stop frame animation, which could have been better. We'll put it that way. And then this opportunity for Borderline Clone came up, and obviously Borderline Clone, the Star Wars thing. That's why we went there with the clones, and it is a long process. And just an
example. I was going to ask you, how long did it take to do Borderline Clone?
Borderline Clone was probably a good 60 to 70 hours worth of animation work.
You're talking like a 4-minute song, about 70 hours of work.
Yeah. Now, bearing in mind, I was very new to this at that point in time, and I didn't have any dedicated software. I had, again, my digital cameras and my iPhone, which I used for taking the photographs, and then I'd download them to my machine. I put them in iMovie and edit the timing, and then, it was a labor of love more than anything. I've refined my processes now, and this is something that you'll do as you go along and do these things. Make sure you haven't got a wonky table, because that makes your background move in the background. Make sure the board you're using is put onto the table and stuck there firm, so that doesn't move around. Silly little things that you don't consider until you're actually doing it and watching what you're doing back. And, so many different modes of stop frame animation. It doesn't have to be Lego. I like Lego because, one, my boy's into it and has got a very large collection of it, so it's easily available to me. And secondly, because, you've got characters and personality, and they've got a kind of cult following, and they're movable, and you can have a lot of fun with them, build them, change them. But you can use plasticine, you can use paper, you can use basically anything that you can take a photograph of, move, take another photograph of, move, take another photograph.
I know
that is the process.
I know there are pieces of software available today for your phones, whether it's an iPhone, Android phone, any phone with a camera or the ability to load apps that will take and allow you to take the picture, and it will show you a wireframe of the picture you just took as you line up the new picture, so you can precisely get things lined up the way you want them, I guess.
That's right. I mean, I actually use my iPad and my iPhone for doing my stop frame animations, using iStop Motion from Boink Software, our friends at Boink Software.
Absolutely.
And it's a wonderful, wonderful piece of equipment because I use my iPhone, wirelessly connected to my iPad as a remote camera, which means I can lock the camera down. I don't have to touch it at all. And then all the photographs I take is done actually on the iPad through the phone.
Now,
and it makes for a really nice way of working.
Tell me about one of the shots we saw there in the video clip we just looked at was a panning shot that moved from one side of a stage set to another.
Yep.
How was that accomplished? Because that's something that I would think would be extremely hard to do because you're taking a photo, moving the characters, and having to move the camera as things are progressing along. So how did you do something like that?
Well, it was quite easy. I just built a Lego car to house the phone. I put it on wheels. Since then, again, I've refined my process and found in my boy's Lego box some Lego skis, which fit perfectly over the nodules on the Lego board. So it actually slides, whereas the wheels sort of turn and sort of hit every bump. You know, the ski just slides very gently across. And you're just moving it, a millimeter or 2 millimeters each time. Taking the photograph after you've moved all the characters as well. Then you move the camera, move the characters, take the photograph. And that's what takes the time. Things like the crowd shots in there as well, where you've got the crowd watching the band and you've got, 20, 30, 40 pieces of Lego to manipulate and move around and they fall over and, you move one too fast. So you've got to go back and move them again. It's very time consuming. It's very fiddly. But with a small setup, I mean, I literally use a small Lego board on a small table in my living room with my iPhone and my iPad. That is the animation studio. And it takes no room or anything at all. And you can get some really, really effective ideas. Little tip for you. Warner Brothers always used to edit their films to 120 beats per minute. Because that basically works out at half a frame per second.
Okay.
Does that make sense when you're syncing it together? But obviously, if you're making a music video, the one thing you really need to be conscious of is if you're having characters dancing, you want them to look like they're dancing to the music and not just to the merry rhythms in their head. So you need to basically work out how many frames per second you're shooting in, which can be 12, 24, 36, depending on how detailed and how laborious you want the process to be. Then you've got to basically work out how many beats per minute and then work out the math from there, which you can easily find people telling you how to do that properly on Google. But do consider that, because if you don't, it looks like your characters are dancing to a different song.
That makes perfect sense, and that's a very important aspect to remember. Now, lyric videos, this is something that I'd never heard this term, lyric video, before I saw the video that you did here, again, for Paul Miro. And we're going to talk about that next. So let's take a look at this video example for lyric videos. This is a video for Paul Miro called Kings of Mediocrity. Let's take a look at it.
It's worse than anything Warhol said. All the vacuous airheads, the new sensation of the Walking Dead, drinking the devil's Kool-Aid. Look at those fools, those talentless fools who let them get near the stage. Oh God, they're gonna get up, they're gonna get up, they're gonna get up. Everyday fools are making the news, doing what they do, spit the kings of mediocrity.
Now, the thing that shocks me about this, or makes it interesting to me, is it seems like it's a combination of almost everything we've talked about before.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, this is probably the video I'm most proud of to date. Again, Paul came to me, I've got a song, it's called Kings of Mediocrity. There's this thing called a lyric video going around on the internet at the moment, and I want something like one of these. And he sent me a few links to a few lyric videos which were out there, and I had a watch and thought, oh, I've never done anything like this before. Obviously, the Borderline Clone video had words on, but it was more like a karaoke thing than it was a lyric video. And, you know, these lyric videos, they basically take it to a new level. It's not just the writing appearing on the screen like a karaoke machine. It's the words interacting and doing things and moving and coming in on time.
Yeah, they're kind of like
It takes it to a
flowing
whole
on
new
the
art.
screen as they're sung, yeah.
Yeah. The Rolling Stones did a great one where the words were actually being written in like a sort of big, bold calligraphy brush in blacks and reds. The words were actually being written as they were sung, and that was very, very clever.
It seems like something like that would be a horribly difficult thing to do, require a lot of prep work beforehand.
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, Kings of Mediocrity was a really easy song to work with because there was a strong concept behind the track itself, which led to a strong visual. The whole concept being, you know, people from manufactured TV shows, reality TV shows like Pop Idol and Britain's Got Talent and America Hasn't Got Talent and places like that. And it was sort of an anti-those song, really. So I had a lot to work with from that point of view, and obviously Falls and Kings, it inspires a lot of imagery.
Now, I just want to make sure before you go on, I want to make sure everybody got that dig he gave to Americans.
I know dig from me, mate. No, sorry.
Rewind this video, play it back. You'll hear it. I guarantee it.
Send your mails to Rich at
and I'll forward them on to Ian. I will. All right. So tell me about this. One of the things I have written down here in my notes is working within your means.
Well, I mean, I want to get back to the King's Mediocrity a little bit,
right?
Because as I said, this was quite involved. One of the main processes I used with this was actually hand drawing stuff. And I achieved that hand drawing using my iPad and the stylus in Adobe Ideas. Now, I'm a graphic designer and I'm very used to Adobe's products. So that worked for me really, really well. And I screen captured that on my iMac using Reflector, which is a little app which allows you to wirelessly connect your iPad to your Mac and do screen captures. So I recorded all the video of the drawings on them. The process of editing them down then I had to go through the video, edit out all the sections where I was changing brush or changing color and things like that in the palettes, put that back together, and then obviously the process of speeding it up as well. So it looked like I was doing it really quickly because obviously you don't draw naturally that quickly. So very interesting sort of ways of working. You know, the technology out there does afford us to do these things now, screen captures and stuff like that. So if you can draw, it's a great opportunity to get an iPad and record it on your Mac and use that as a video. Obviously, this was a selection put together with a scan of Paul's lyrics. So Paul actually wrote the words out for me, scanned them and emailed them to me so I could use them to give it that bit more authenticity. And then I obviously overlaid that with video effects like the borders and the crackles and stuff like that. And that was quite a job getting that right.
So now, before I go on, I want to find out, on average, from these video selections we've talked about, going all the way back to number one, this is Bridport, Just Don't Understand, F the Police, Hitlist, Borderline Clone, and Kings of Mediocrity. On average, how much time would you say is spent on each video?
It really is hard to say, Rich. I mean, I just get the job done. I mean, you've probably got to allow yourself 20 to 40 hours, depending on the complexity of the video. Like the F the Police video, I mean, the most time in that was really finding the footage.
Now, the reason I asked this is because, you know, we're talking about putting together a video episode of MSI or a contest. And we have a lot of indie artists out there that might be interested in this kind of thing. And I want to be able to give them an idea about how much time they're going to be putting into something like this, depending upon what they choose to do and how they choose to do it.
Yeah, I mean, it really does depend on what you decide to do and how you decide to do it, and your concept as well. I mean, you know, you could literally do a video with your mate with his iPhone, with your band set up in a warehouse or something like that, or even at a venue where you play when you know no one's there, and you can play the song through 3 or 4 times with your mate on his iPhone, getting different shots at different times, edit that together. It would probably take me to do something like that a matter of no more than 10 hours.
Okay. So
with the filming and editing involved, because it's relatively easy to do. If you're going to look at doing stock frame animation, where a 10 to 20 second segment can take 2 to 3 hours of your time to film.
You're talking,
you're in for a lot more money.
Yeah, 12 to 24 pictures per second.
Mm.
So,
exactly.
All right, now let's talk about some things that we might not have hit upon during our initial discussion. Storyboards, something you need to use or good to use, something you can throw away or not. I mean,
yeah. I mean, I haven't done storyboards for any of these videos except in my head. I mean, I work a lot visually, so in my head, I see the visual process quite easily. And I think from my point of view, more than storyboards is concept. You've got to have a strong idea. Now, just because you're sat in your own home with a digital camera doesn't mean you can't produce a good video with a good idea. And as long as you've got a strong idea to work from, then formulating that into a video. Storyboards will change, concepts will change when you get into editing and realize that, as I said earlier, if you've recorded your song 3 or 4 times from a load of different angles and you see you've got something else that works much better there than you thought you wanted, and you can use it. So concept and editing can change a lot of things.
So I guess the main thing to remember is don't be afraid to try new things and try something out you may not have had in mind to begin with, but just try it out and see if it works. If it doesn't work, fine. But if it does, or parts of it may work someplace else.
Yeah, I mean, if you're doing stuff, don't throw anything away until you've got your edited video done, because you might find that actually that'll work there a bit better. But concept is really one of the most important things in my mind. You've got to have a strong idea, and don't be afraid to be creative with it. Try something different. It doesn't have to be the same as all these top 40 videos where they're in warehouses with pyrotechnics going off and lots of people dancing in with no clothes on.
Well, unless of course you want to do that, but still. Now, we did talk about a little earlier in the broadcast about how these things don't have to cost you an arm and a leg. I guess the key thing to remember here is working within your means. As I said once before, you don't have to spend a lot of money to get stuff like this done, right?
No, as I said, if you've got the equipment sitting there, i.e. a Mac with iMovie and some form of digital camera that can take video or pictures, you can pretty much produce it. I allow myself a budget because I have poignant ideas that I want to illustrate. Now, I think, the most I've ever spent on one of these videos is £60. And that is in buying, maybe different bits of Lego for a video, which then my boy gets to play with afterwards. So it's not really an investment for the video as well. It's an investment for him too. But if you can allow yourself something, if you've got everything you need to do it, great, you can do it for nothing. But 40, 50, £60 or dollars, could give you that extra bit of detail that you might be missing if you don't spend that
now
money.
Also remember that if you're working with a Windows machine, similar to iMovie on a Windows machine, you have Movie Maker, which is available from Microsoft for free on your PC. So you aren't without options if you're on a Windows machine. So do take that into account as well. Now,
and
again,
I think another thing,
sure.
Research. Don't presume you know everything about your chosen subject matter. For example, a bit of research might turn up other ideas, other concepts, or more depth to your original idea than you thought. For example, I'm doing a video at the moment called Follow Me, revolving around the Pied Piper as the main antagonist of the video. So I've spent a lot of time reading up on the Pied Piper, not just the story of Pied Piper of Hamelin, but where else he's cropped up, DC Comics, for example. So, you can always find little bits and pieces that you can hark back to, little things that, maybe certain fans of certain genres will really appreciate once they go back and watch your video.
That's a good point to remember, and hence the Superman t-shirt, I suppose. So, I mean, it all comes around. All right, now let's remind everybody exactly why, again, we decided to create this video. We wanted to show you that it's not complicated, or doesn't have to be complicated or cost an arm and a leg to put together a music video. And the whole point of this is to not only let you know that, but also to announce to you that in the very near future, we're going to be making a new announcement, we're going to talk about a video aspect of MSI, a video contest once a quarter or something along those lines. We don't exactly know yet, but we want to get you interested in participating.
And help you get your skills up. I mean, you don't have to be a big, rich video mogul these days to do this stuff. You can do it from your own home. Just like you can do music, you can do video. It takes a bit of time. It takes a bit of dedication and a bit of learning. But if you're prepared to put that in, you can get some great results.
All right. That makes perfect sense. I appreciate you sitting in with me today, Ian, to do this. I also appreciate everybody taking the opportunity to watch it. And if you have any questions, you can hit us up at the website, musicsceneinvestigation.com. And for now, we're going to leave it at that. We'll talk to you on Sunday when we do our regular MSI. See you then.
See you then.